Okay, this is Orlando Wilson. What I want to talk about in this video is an aspect of the kidnap and ransom business, which a lot of people, again, don't seem to take into consideration. There's a big, as I said in other videos, the kidnap and ransom business, prevention business has been glamorized extremely over the last how many years by Hollywood, etc., etc. And this is where if somebody's kidnapped and you intend to pay a ransom, you have to be extremely careful who you're paying the ransom to. And you have to be extremely careful that you can actually pay the ransom and not end up in a lot of trouble yourself. This is where if somebody's kidnapped, the authorities need to be informed. In most first world countries, if you don't inform the authorities, you yourself can be committing a crime. So you need to understand the laws of the country you're in, the area you're in, etc., and also the laws that certain people could be under due to their citizenships. Now, if somebody's kidnapped, I said in other videos, the first thing you need to do is confirm the kidnapping. The other thing, if a ransom demand comes in, you have to ensure that is actually coming from the real kidnappers. And this is where if a kidnapping is high profile and people find out who the victims' families are, etc., they can be contacted by multiple people pretending to be the kidnappers because they want a ransom, they want proof of money for proof of life, etc. It's happened where ransoms have been sent to the wrong people. And again, it goes from a big mess to an even bigger mess. Now, the legalities of paying ransoms, even under certain countries' laws, and this is wherever you're operating from, you need to know the laws of that country. You cannot negotiate with recognized terrorist groups. You cannot talk to them. So if you think as a private individual, which you are, even if you own a private security company, investigations company, etc. If somebody contacts you to assist them with the kidnapping and you start talking to known terrorist organizations, you yourself are committing an offense. If you send money to a known, recognized terrorist organization, you can be done for facilitating terrorism, etc., etc. You're getting yourself into a world of trouble. Everything has to be reported to the authorities, documented, etc., etc. And how it progresses will depend on the authorities of the country you're in, etc. But you need to understand, you just can't go around, a lot of people think, we'll go and consult and negotiate on kidnappings. No, you have to be extremely careful because you end up in a lot of trouble. Just talking to people these days can get you in a lot of hot water. Sending money to the wrong people, one, you can lose the money, and two, if those people are recognized terrorist organizations, recognized terrorists, you can be going to jail for a long time. Now, I use examples of when the ransom demands were being paid for the boats off Somalia, that, you know what, all that was dealt with at government level. A lot of people turned a blind eye to the money that was being paid for the ships that were being hijacked off Somalia. So that whole thing, if the host government is willing to turn a blind eye to ransoms being paid for, and governments did turn a blind eye to ransoms being paid for the ships off Somalia, people can do things. I think there was the United States wanting to put a motion through the United Nations that ransoms could not be paid for the ships being hijacked off Somalia because that money was going to facilitate terrorism. Was that money going to facilitate terrorism? Yes, it was, 200%. But the money was coming from British banks, British insurance companies, etc. So the British government allowed people to do it. And it was funny when the US put that resolution into, I believe it was United Nations, to stop all ransom payments, the country that blocked that resolution was the United Kingdom. Why? Because if we want to be honest about things, every member of that insurance company and those banks that was happily sending money for ransom payments in Somalia for the hijacked vessels, were they facilitating terrorism? Yes. But the British government seems to do what it wants to do as long as it's in its interests. If you try to do that type of thing, you'll be getting a knock on the door and most probably being walked out the door in handcuffs. But governments do what governments do, right? So this is where, if you need to pay ransoms, if you're approached, if somebody you know has been kidnapped, etc., understand the rules and regulations of the locations you're in, what laws the people can be under due to their citizenships, and don't go trying to solve problems by yourself, because you can end up getting into a lot more trouble. You can try to solve the problems, but make sure you do your research 200% and make sure everything you're doing is legal. And you also need to ensure that everything you're doing is in the interest of the safety of the hostage, and you're not putting weight on the criminals that can end up pressuring them to get rid of the hostage, shall we say. Anyway, follow me along on social media. I got a lot more of these videos up there. I've got an array of articles up on the blog that talk about various aspects of kidnap and ransom, etc. I have a book that specifically deals with kidnap and ransom. And we also run kidnap and ransom prevention courses. We tend to do those by appointment these days, so reach out to me if you're interested in any of our courses. And in the meantime, as always, be good, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and as always, do not get kidnapped. That's the main thing. If you get kidnapped, nobody's coming to rescue you. And again, you're getting yourself into a very, very, very messy situation. So, the golden rule, don't get kidnapped.